going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down. Oh, what a glorious Friday it has been so far. It's kind of crazy. I've been up for 12 hours at this point, and I've only posted 2 videos, but a lot goes into those 2 videos, man. We kicked our day off at 3 o'clock, as we always do on Fridays when Marvel's got TV content, with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Spoiler and non-spoiler are both up. If you've seen the episode and you want to see all my thoughts on the spoiler, I went deep, and I put up my reactions. I've been filming myself today, man, because I was expecting big things, and I got big things. So if you want to see my reactions and review the spoiler nature to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier season finale, you can check that out. But now we shift our gears, man. For at least right now, I think I'm actually gonna post just the reactions from the finale, but that'll come after I do this. Now I'm shifting my gears because that's already cut. I just have to export and post it. But now we shift over to the world of movies and HBO Max. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping to catch this in IMAX if the theater was kind of empty near me. When I realized that Shadow and Bone was also today, which we have to do after this one, I was like, you know what? Let's not go to the theater. Let's just check it out on the couch. And I won't lie to you, this movie worked pretty well on the couch for me. I think it probably would have popped a little bit better in IMAX, but in all honesty, I enjoyed the living out of this movie, man. I had so much freaking fun this afternoon. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler-free into Mortal Kombat. And like I said, man, I had an absolute blast with this movie this afternoon. I mean, I might be a little delirious because I've been up since 3 a, but dude, I enjoyed so much so that, much like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I recorded myself watching this one, and I lost my mind a few times. I'm going to put out those reactions separate so that we don't eat up tons of time here in the non-spoiler. But I'm going to give you a taste. I got to give you a little taste so that you can see just how excited I was getting during the watch of Mortal Kombat. So take a look. Yes, dude! Come on! Yes! Dude, let's go! Dude, I'm telling you, man, I get a kick out of myself. I'm glad I have the camera rolling. I am maybe a little bit delirious, but I had such a blast with this movie. I don't know about you guys, but my bar for a Mortal Kombat movie is kind of low. I love the 90s ones. I just rewatched both of them, and while Annihilation gets really kind of out there and definitely is not as good as the original Mortal Kombat, I love that original Mortal Kombat every time I throw it on, man, because it holds pretty true to the main story beats and, where this material comes from. And, then just gives you, this just fun kickback popcorn flick. And, look, I wanted to see this movie taken seriously, right? But, you gotta have fun if you're making a Mortal Kombat movie. And, look, this movie's not perfect. I think if there's one area that was a real legitimate miss for Simon McQuoid, who's the director here, and Dave Callahan, who's on the screenplay, along with Greg Russo, it's the addition of this new character, Cole Young. He's not very good. Nothing against Louis Tan. He's fine. And they do give him some cool stuff. His action sequences look really nice on screen. It's just I'm here riding with my homies, that I've known since I was 12 years old. And now this new guy is here, and whatever, I'm along for the ride. But he gets a little too involved in critical moments where it was this guy's learning. He's building up. Give him a little time, especially if we're going to sequel. Let him get to, the big moments. Give him, a little one. And they do give him, there's one fight where I was that's exactly what I would use Cole Young for. 2 of the other instances that he gets in the movie, I was dope visually, and the action was cool, but it didn't feel like that character deserved that stuff. And overall, just it's weird because the movie certainly seems like it wants to focus on the Mortal Kombat stuff and like where this material comes from. And it's one of those things with Simon McCoy. When the first trailer came out, he did a breakdown, and like just listening to that dude talk, you could tell he knows this source material inside and out. Like, this guy is a legitimate fan. And the movie knows the source material really, really well. I mean, the stuff they do with Hanzo and Bihan in this movie are... It's nuts, dude. Like, it's so spot on for the Sub-Zero and Scorpion characters. Anytime that you have Joe Taslim in the movie as either Bihan or in his Sub-Zero form, and any time that you have Hiroyuki Sanada in the Hanzo, Hasashi, or Scorpion form, this movie is an A+. Like, give it all the freaking stars. Those two guys are some of the best in the world of martial arts. I love that they, let Sanada play with the samurai sword a little bit, because he is one of the best samurai swordsmen like in the entire world, and those sequences are tight. And like specifically like with the sword, man, like there's a moment where he does a move, and as soon as he did it, I was like, that was so satisfying. And you only get that if you have Hiroyuki Sanada in here. But I also love that they give him and like an origin for his kunai weapon. It is so freaking dope, man. Like, every time Sanada breaks that bad boy out and is throwing it around, or like he's in a situation and just appears, turns and stabs a guy, like, it's brilliant. And I know that Warner Brothers put up the first 7 minutes. I think the entire opening sequence ran about 12 when I looked at it. I didn't watch the opening 7 because I wanted to save it for the full watch. I certainly recorded myself watching it. That opening 7 minutes is 7 to 12 minutes is mind-blowingly spectacular, like I said. And what you get from Sanada and Taslim, look, there is not a ton of acting going on in this movie, but these two dudes like just absolutely crush in the open. And then when you get to their like action sequences that are later on in the movie, again, not a ton of verbal acting, but the action sequences for Sub-Zero and Scorpion are some of the best we've ever seen. And I know that there has been word that there was like a fatality too brutal to actually film. I'm thinking that's probably one of these two guys, but the fatalities that they do get, like, that's the other thing. I mean, I can't give Simon McCoy like enough credit for just like going deep cuts, man, and being accurate to the material and to the games, man. Like, there are spot on fatalities in this movie for these guys and for everybody that shows. I mean, there's got to be at least a dozen, if not, maybe a little less or a little bit more, but like all of them. Like, every time it happens, if you've played these games and you're a fan of this material, like, your just jaw falls to the ground and you're like, wow. And while I might not be a big fan of Cole Young and really didn't think he brought anything too positive to the movie, like, it's there, and since it was there, I think they did the best they could with it. But like, since you're in control creatively, like, you could have just dismissed it. But when you get into the Mortal Kombat stuff and you start seeing all those people that you are familiar with, like, we kind of open on the Hanzo and Bihan, like, origin stuff. And then we go into what is pretty much a traditional setup for Mortal Kombat, man. We got our champions on Earth. You got Raiden. Lord Raiden's going around collecting them all up, getting them ready for Mortal Kombat. The Outworld has won 9 in a row behind Shang Tsung. And one more loss, and Outworld takes over Earthrealm. And, as we kind of meet all of our characters, like I said, the acting is okay. I mean, we got a huge cast here, and like I said, Louis Tan as Cole Young, fine. I didn't need him. I don't really want him. But like, he's there. He does an okay job. Jessica McNamee, who plays Sonya Blade, while she also certainly gets a couple really cool moments, like, she's fine. I think she's probably an upgrade from the 90s films for Sonya Blade, which was nice. And like I said, some of her action was pretty dope. And her back and forth with Kano is fantastic. And like, that you definitely want. Like, one of the things I wasn't really a big fan of is how they use Kano in this movie. It's not completely traditional to what we know with Mortal Kombat, where he's usually being chased by Sonya. Here, he's kind of part of our main group. And it's a little weird. I think that Josh Lawson, who plays Kano, does a fantastic job with it. Like, he crushed it. He's so freaking funny and just mouthy and, like, all the things you want from Kano. And like I said, his back and forth with Sonya is fun. It's weird to have him there, especially when Johnny Cage is absent. But I won't lie to you. Like, the fact that most likely Johnny Cage would hit in the second movie, and you've already done the Kano stuff, like, it should give him some more room to breathe with a lot of characters, which, granted, if you just get rid of Cole Young, you could have put Johnny Cage in. But I did think McQuaid had a fair point, that if you like wanted to really go into Kano and not have him just be like a little side character, him and Cage are very similar. And I'll tell you right now, I'm already seeing it on Twitter, and I'm totally with you. I was thinking it while I was watching the movie. The Miz needs to be Johnny Cage. Like, he is spot on perfect for that role. I mean, he might need to work on his martial arts, but as far as that Hollywood look and feel and the swag and the way he can run his mouth, you know, coming from the WWE, would love to see that. But back to the people that are in the movie. You also have Mehcad Brooks, who plays Jax. We've seen, obviously, bits of his origin in the trailer. What happens with him is cool, and how they get to what we want is cool. And the general, how we get to what we want with a lot of these characters, is really cool. It's one of the things that I don't think is in the games or really in the source material, but utilizing the Mortal Kombat symbol as kind of like this birthmark to mark the champions of Earth is a really cool concept, because unlike the movies that we've seen, you know, previously in the live action realm, this kind of gives an explanation to why some of these characters can do like some of the superpowery type things that we have in the game, and how they kind of get to their Mortal Kombat levels. It was a lot of fun to watch. You know, and specifically for Jax, like the Jax moment, I was like, yeah, that's dope. Like it was just cool to watch that stuff. Lord Raiden, like I said earlier, look-wise, is the best looking version of Lord Raiden that we've ever had in a live action. You know, and to have a character that actually kind of looks like the character that we see in the games was exciting. Tadanobu Hasano does a nice job, you know, not a ton, but like definitely got the voice stuff down, and like every time he showed up with Raiden, that lightning stuff looked like, what? Talk about upgrades. Like, there's a couple upgrades in this movie. Lord Raiden's lightning effects, huge upgrade from the 90s. There's one other character I don't know if we have seen ever in the trailer, so I won't say who, but they are a character that appeared in the original, and I thought this was a nice kind of like deep cut nod, and like talk about an upgrade. This one character's upgrade, so massive since the 90s, and it really, really popped on screen. Like, it was fun to watch that character. But then, I mean, as far as who else we've got, Chin Han does an okay job as Shang Tsung. I personally would probably still prefer Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa, the guy who played Shang Tsung in the original movies. He just looks the part more than Chin Han does. But, you know, he's fine. Again, like, they don't ask really too many of these actors to do a ton of acting. I'd say Kano probably is delivering the most acting throughout the movie. But, like, he's fine. You know, he comes in. He's got one moment that I was like, that was sweet. And you know what? For my money's worth, as long as you did that with everybody that popped up, I was pretty freaking happy. I must say, though, Ludi Lin, who does Liu Kang, awesome, dude. Like, a little bit different of a look than, you know, the 90s look to Liu, specifically with the hair. Although when he shows up, there's like the shadow silhouette on like a sundown. We see him, and the hair kind of looks like the 90s Liu Kang, and then it's not quite as blown out. But he was awesome. Both him and Max Huang, who plays Kung Lao, of the Mortal Kombat guys, easily that weren't these two. Easily my two favorite, man. Watching them do their thing. I mean, from, you know, Liu Kang with the fire and you know, Kung Lao's hat. Oh, the way they use that hat. And again, this is something McQuaid had mentioned. Like, they spent a pretty significant budget on Kung Lao's hat to make sure it was perfect. Like, it needed to sit, it needed to function like it would in the game, and it does. Oh, it does. And all their Mortal Kombat stuff was sweet. And then I think lastly, this is probably the only other one that I'll talk about, is Sissy Stringer, who obviously we saw as Melina in the trailer where she's licking at Sai. She again, like, not a lot of acting, but her Mortal Kombat stuff, her visual look when she's on screen is dope, man. And like, I'm not spoiling anything, but if you're a fan of Melina, you're gonna get some stuff where you're like, I'm very happy that I got to see that. They do some really cool stuff with her. And the other champions of Outworld that show up, while not necessarily like peak, all really good for what they utilize them for. And it allows you to keep a pretty solid roster for any sequels that come after this. And I guess the final thing we can talk about, because he was definitely in the trailers, Prince Goro. Freaking dope. Now, I kind of have some issues with how that goes, but visually, fantastic. And again, there's like, I had an issue with something that happens with Goro, but they do something where I think like it might work out where we could still see something that we don't get to see here. But it's one of those things where I was like, you could have done something here that like you definitely couldn't do in the 90s. And a lot of the stuff that Goro does, clearly you couldn't do in the 90s. I mean, the visual effects over the practical effects definitely are a big win. But like, it was like, there was an opportunity. I was like, you have this, you can do this. And the reason it doesn't happen kind of plays into this one other tweak that they make to the story that I didn't really dig. Like, I would have preferred they gone a little bit more traditional in some of the setup, but I can't complain because the execution around the Mortal Kombat stuff, like I said, it's deep cut, it's accurate to the source material, it is accurate to the fighting styles, it's accurate to the fatalities, you get the lines that you want to hear, and then you throw in just phenomenal visuals. Like, the visual effects are fantastic. And look, I think if you were coming to Mortal Kombat for a really, really good films, you know, with a solid story and like an A+, you probably are in the wrong audience. If you came to a Mortal Kombat movie to have a freaking kick-ass time for 2 hours, then you definitely came to the right movie. Because this movie, whether you like it or don't like it, whether everything works or, you know, everything doesn't work, or some of it does and some of it doesn't, however you see it, if you just sit back and enjoy what happens, it's a ton of fun. And as far as video game movies go, I'd probably still give Sonic the edge because it's definitely, I think, a better story-driven movie. But as far as being like crazy on point to the video games, like, this movie hit, and it hit in a big way for me. I had an absolute blast. I will definitely be watching again. I'll probably go try to check it out in IMAX anyway, because the action scenes are a ton of fun, and the visuals, like I said, the visuals are crazy, and the set pieces and some of the backdrops, like the Outworld, they filmed that on like actual location. Insane. Like, some of the shots in Outward are just nuts, and then some of the sets, I mean, they're just gorgeous, whether they're practical or visual effect oriented. Like, all of them just really pop. And then the score is kicking. It's one of those things where it's weird watching a Mortal Kombat movie and not having that 90s techno just beating in your eardrum like the whole movie. There is a nice nod, and it was one of those things. I was like, if I was gonna like this movie, I need that to show up somewhere. And if you're hoping for a nod to that original soundtrack, you gonna get it. But the score is dope. It really adds a lot of drama to some of the scenes, specifically near the opening and toward the end, and definitely elevates the battle sequences. And I think one of the other things too that I really did dig goes back again to like the birthmark dragon. Utilizing that angle also allowed these guys to kind of like train up a little bit and like learn where to find their powers, which I thought was a really cool add. Like, you know, I mean, you have in the original, you have like Johnny Cage just shows up off a boat and he doesn't even realize that's he thinks he's shooting a movie, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is real. Whoa. Like, at least here you're able to execute like finishers and things from the games and give some of the powers to these regular people in a way that makes a ton of sense. So like I said, like, some of the twists I really, really dug. Some of the other turns I didn't. Cole Young, not really a big fan. Figuring out a way to show how they get their powers, really cool idea. And at the end of the day, I think for the most part, this movie is a win way more than it is not a win. So if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, specifically the video games and the original movies, you should enjoy the heck out of this movie. If you're looking for something really, really highbrow and top end, you might not like this movie at all. But I mean, for me, knowing what I know about Mortal Kombat, like, I played the games as a kid. I wasn't very good at them, so I wasn't, like, addicted to them. But, like, loved those old 90s movies. And for me, this just meets what I wanted from it. It did what I wanted it to do. So, good, bad, and different, man. I enjoyed the heck out of this, and I think it's a little bit of everything. But you know what? All the Mortal Kombat movies are a little bit of everything, so that fits. And for me, I think this was a step up from the '90s. So that was my bar, and this movie cleared it. So those are all my non-spoiler thoughts on Mortal Kombat. The question I have, though, is what did you think? It's been up now for over 12 hours. Have you had a chance to watch Mortal Kombat? Did you go out to the theater early this afternoon? Did you check it out on HBO Max? What did you think? Are you a fan of the games? Are you a fan of the original movie series? Are you a fan of both? Do you think that this movie spoke to those fans? Did, like I said, deep cut things that honor the source material? Do you think the action sequences popped? Were the fatalities what you were expecting? And when you got them, like, did they exceed your expectations? Did they do more than what you thought? What'd you think of the visuals? What'd you think of the score? What'd you think of the acting? Like I said, there's not a ton of great acting in this movie because most of it is fighting. But, let me know how that affected you while you were watching the movie. Did it take you out of the movie? Were you able to look past it because you were just here for the Mortal Kombat stuff? Where does everything fall? Good, bad, indifferent on Mortal Kombat down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the old C-Man anytime we talk movies, TV, trailer reactions, you want to be here as we continue on this crazy content day where, we got Shadow and Bone coming up after this, man. I'm going to get this bad boy up. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to kick back, watch some episodes, talk a little bit about that, and keep on watching because I am stoked for that show. So you want to be here for all that stuff, and you haven't yet, show a little love, support the old C-Man. Join C-Maniac Nation by jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. Until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down. Get over here, I've been the C-Man, and I am signing off. Peace! Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.